I hereby call the special school committee meeting at the George M. Romm Little Theater, Brockton High School, 474 East Ave, Brockton, Mass. 02301. It being Tuesday, January 23rd in the year 2024 at 7 o'clock. I have called to order the meeting. I need to read the following into the record. This meeting will be held and will be accessible to the public via television on Comcast Channel 8 and also the 1071 HD version, and online via the following link, which is www.youtube.com/TheBrocktonChannels. I will ask us please to stand and salute our American flag at this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do need to go around and try to establish a quorum. Mrs. Sullivan?
Here.
Mr. Gomes, Mrs. Campbell, Mr. Gomes was going to call in. Has he been contacted?
He has been contacted. He said 1 second.
I can go to Mrs. Ehlers.
Here.
Ms. Oliver is not here. Mr. Rodriguez is not here. Ms. Azak is not here. Mr. Sullivan is here.
Here.
Chair is here. If we have Mr. Gomes, we will be establishing a quorum. If we do not have Mr. Gomes, unfortunately, we will not be establishing a quorum.
Claudio is on speakerphone.
Mr. Gomes, can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Gomes is here. We are also joined now by Ms. Oliver and Ms. Azak are here as well. So we have established a lawful quorum. At this time, agenda item 4 is hearing of visitors. We have nobody signed in for hearing of visitors this evening. We will now go on to agenda 5, which is election of vice chair. We did ask Attorney Spartaford to join us this evening, Sarah Spartaford, and I know she did some research relative to the inquiry by Ms. Azak at the last meeting. Attorney Spartaford, please. And good evening, Sarah.
Good evening. So I did do some research into the idea of proposing a co-vice chair model. Unfortunately, the city charter does, at chapter 32, state that there has to be the election of one vice chair. So I don't think that's something we can do without changing the charter. Changing the charter requires either, there's two processes to do it. You can do it through a special act or through a charter convention, and then you go up through the legislature that way. Both require an act of the legislature. Both require initially, it's the city council's document. It's not the school committee's document, so they would need to agree to do that. So I don't think it's a very expeditious manner of, unfortunately. If it was just our policy, that would be a different matter, but unfortunately, because it's the charter, I don't think there's a way to do the co-vice chair suggestion, creative suggestion, but I don't think, unfortunately, there's a way for us to do that this cycle. We could certainly talk about making the change if that's something the committee wanted to contemplate going forward. But beyond that, the committee is, as we've discussed with MASC and discussed here, you've passed your organizational meeting. We're just in the point now of trying to see if we will establish a new vice chair, but the policy BDB does allow for the existing vice chair to remain in that role until a successor is established. So unless there's any questions, that was what my research showed.
I do also want the minutes reflect Mr. Rodriguez has joined us, and again, Mr. Gomes is on the telephone, which is still allowed under the governor's proclamation, so we do have a full 8-member board here tonight. Any questions for the attorney at this time? Mr. Gomes, just because you're not here, I'm not trying to call you out, but did you have any questions at this time?
No, not at the moment.
Thank you, Mr.
I'll be there shortly.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney Spartaford. So at this time, I can open up, like I've done in the past, nominations. Are there any nominations among the committee relative to a vice chair for the year 2024? Are there any nominations? Mr. Sullivan, please.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to nominate Ms. Kathy Ellis as vice chair for the school committee for the year 2024.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Sullivan. It was properly seconded by Mrs. Sullivan. Ms. Ayers will be on the ballot. Is there another nomination at this time, please?
I would like to nominate Tony Rodriguez for vice chair.
Motion was made by Ms. Oliver. Is there a second on that, please?
Second.
Second was made by Ms. Azak. At this time, are there any additional names that want to be put forward? Any other nomination names? Third and final time. We now will close that part of the hearing, the nomination process. I will do a roll call vote. We have two members of the committee on the ballot, Kathy Ayers and Tony Rodriguez. I will go around with the roll again relative to these nominations, please. Mr. Sullivan?
Kathy Ayers.
Mr. Gomes, please.
Tony Rodriguez.
Ms. Ayers, please.
Kathy Ayers.
Ms. Oliver, please.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Ms. Rodriguez, please.
Tony Rodriguez.
Ms. Azak, please.
Tony Rodriguez.
Mr. Sullivan, please.
Kathy Ayers.
And I'm also Kathy Ayers. That fails 4-4 once again. I will now entertain another nomination at this time. Mr. Sullivan, please.
I would like to nominate Kathy Ayers as vice chair of this school committee for the year 2024.
Form of a motion. Is there a second on that
Second.
motion? Motion was made by Mr. Sullivan, properly seconded by Mrs. Sullivan. Kathy Ayers, you're on the, Ms. Ayers is on the ballot. Is there another name at this time, please? Ms. Oliver, please.
I'd like to nominate Tony Rodriguez for vice chair.
Form of a motion. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Motion was made by Ms. Oliver. It was properly seconded by Ms. Azak. At this time, are there any other members that would like to put a name forward? Any additional names? Third and final time. Nominations are hereby closed. At this time, we have two members of the committee on the ballot. Ms. Ayers, Mr. Rodriguez. I will read the roll again. At this time, Mr. Sullivan.
Kathy Ayers.
Mr. Gomes, please.
Tony Rodriguez.
Ms. Ayers, please.
Kathy Ayers.
Ms. Oliver, please.
Tony Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez, please.
Tony Rodriguez.
Ms. Azak, please.
Tony Rodriguez.
Mr. Sullivan, please.
Kathy Ayers.
And the chair is Kathy Ayers as well. We're at a stalemate. Mr. Rodriguez, please.
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion on the floor.
Second.
Prior to that, I do just want everybody to know, we have a Finance Committee, Brockton City Council, next Monday night at 7 o'clock. Reason why I bring it up is that under the MSBA, Mass School Building, they give us an extension. We all know this. We've talked about this. However, a condition to that, and Dr. Cobbs was on the 3-hour call, as was Ms. Ayers, condition was there's a calendar of agenda items that we have to present at the MSBA. The first agenda item was for an order to be submitted. It was submitted by myself as mayor, and it was also co-signed a letter of support relative to the matter. The $2.5 million is a request for the feasibility study, which is a requirement for the MSBA. I just want everybody to know it will be heard next Monday night in the council chambers at 7 p.m. At 45 School Street, City Hall. You're all welcome to join us on that. There is a motion on the floor at this time. It was made by Mr. Rodriguez. It was properly seconded by Ms. Azak. I will have to do a roll because Mr. Gomes is on the phone. To adjourn, Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ms. Ayers? Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
No.
I'm a yes as well. We will be adjourning. I also just want to let you know, and I already informed the acting superintendent, we are having a little bit of snow tonight. There are some serious weather conditions for 8 hours. We will be sanding and salting all the school parking lots. We are adjourned. Drive careful.